Yitma, I just apologise if there's any noises in the back. That's the construction going on in the science block. They're fixing our plumbing, so I apologise in advance. Okay, so let's look at the dot point. Evaluate the methods currently used for the disposal, treatment and recycling of both solid and liquid waste. So we've talked about where our waste goes, but what are the methods that get it there? What happens to all the rubbish we put in your bin? So 95 or 97% of our solid waste goes to landfill. This material is known as inert or putrescible, which are non-toxic substances. 5% require special treatment. This includes biomedical and chemical liquid waste, which are hazardous substances. Inert waste consists of soil and rock that has been freshly excavated and not contaminated in any way. Putrescible waste includes food scraps, paper, animal and vegetable waste and restaurant waste. Both types go to landfill. Biomedical wastes are often sterilized by microwave radiation autoclaves. Incineration, autoclave is like a big steam, a box of steam which like fires steam and heats up anything, so you can like kind of kill any living thing that's in there. So if for example it's like genetic engineered or you've changed something, it completely dies and cannot regenerate. Incineration is no longer used due to the odour and pollution release. These wastes go to highly supervised landfills. Low and intermediate level radioactive waste, including medical equipment, clothing, gloves, and reprocessed fuel. And there's also chemical liquid waste, such as reagents, acids, and bases, which need treatment to make them non-reactive. If products are neutral, they are discharged into a drain. Oils can be refined and reused for industrial purposes. Highly toxic and contaminated soil, sludges, and high-level radioactive wastes. There are a range of options for their disposal depending on the waste type. One option exposes the waste to extreme heat, which forms a cement-type harmless material, which is then turned into bricks. This can be used as road base. So I'll just quickly have a quick chat about the different types of the waste that we can sort of the solid waste, which we can sort of recycle and reprocess. Actually, we'll get to that afterwards. Most of our household garbage can be reused instead of going into landfill. That includes glass, paper, and of course we can also use some compost as well, which recycles nutrient waste. Green waste includes food scraps, grass, garden clippings, and wood. This can be reprocessed, as I said, into compost for mulching or soil conditioners. Most plastics can also be recycled, as well as glass and metals, like aluminium and steel. These products should never make their way into landfills because they stay there for a very, very, very long time. Some of the problems that may happen include that sometimes paper or other things that are contaminated causes the fibers to kind of degrade, and therefore makes recycled paper kind of downgraded. Also, some, like for example, recycling newspapers can't be used to produce highly quality printing and writing papers, but you can use them to produce newsprint and tissue paper. Also, it also limits how many times paper can be recycled, because the fibers can only be recycled so many times before they kind of lose their strength. Okay. Do you guys know about the recycling process? It's just basically a big blender that blends them all up, makes it into a thin slurry, and then you kind of you can treat that slurry to remove some contaminants like plastic, string, and paper, and then you can flatten that and dry that out and make it into paper. Also with glass, you can pretty much recycle glass as much as you can. In Australia, 43% of our glass is recycled. New glass can be made with up to 100% waste glass. Some glass products have special qualities and uses that make them non-recyclable, so you have to take out those things by crushing it down. Non-recyclable glass include mirrors, window glass, crystal, ceramics, oven-proof materials, medical and laboratory glass, as well as light bulbs. Okay. So yeah, obviously the management of waste has become a major concern. And why do you think so? Probably because there's like so much of it. It's a ridiculous amount of waste that we produce. Household wastes consist food, garden waste, paper, glass, plastic, metal, and miscellaneous material. I'm thinking of things like nappies and sanitary products and other things that are kind of mixed with lots of things. Most can and should be recycled, but often is not. And we've got a whole bunch of different categories here. So we've got little scrap metal, white goods. So that is included in your washing machine, dryers. And then you've got things like your TVs that people throw away. Also, your furniture. Other things that may be combustible, like your aerosol cans. Think about when you throw out a deodorant can. It's not that easy for them to break that down. Or if people throw in things that can combust. Waste management centres operated by Waste Services New South Wales provides centres for waste collection for householders, councils, commerce and industry. These centres accept material that can be recycled, processed or in need of disposal. The following pre-sorted materials are accepted free of charge: paper, newspaper, cardboard, milk and juice containers. Some of those have that aluminium part in them as well, so they need to go under more processing. Recyclable plastics, aluminium and steel cans, bottles and jars, scrap metals, fridges, stoves, washing machines, and etc. Sump oil, paints, paint thinners and cleaners, and car bodies at some depots. These can also be disposed of for a fee. Garden waste such as garden clippings, weeds, prunings and small tree branches, untreated timber, pallets and crates, and reusable items such as lawnmowers, bicycles and furniture at some depots. Some centres collect and properly dispose of household chemicals. It's important that such chemicals are not poured down the sink or put into the common garbage. As we know, a lot of these things can either have an effect by killing or a reduction in species, and also, if we think about things like eutrophication, which can add too much nutrient to our waterways. Why do you think it's important to dispose of household chemicals properly? And I think we spoke about this a couple of days ago. The half a teaspoon of pesticides will make the volume required to fill an Olympic pool toxic. A full Olympic pool. So the material that goes into landfill must not contain any dangerous waste. Such items are dealt with specifically. For example, hazardous materials such as biomed wastes are incinerated or sterilised. Liquid is deemed neutral, are discharged straight into the drains. However, most need to be treated in some way before being disposed of. And we kind of went through that entire liquid waste process. So make sure that you complete that flow chart so you can understand the different processes. I won't go through that again here. If the product is neutral and safe, it's tipped down the drain, of course. Otherwise, it is treated many, many times, as you know. Highly toxic wastes are contaminated soil sludges and radioactive. There is a range of options for their disposal once treated. So, guidelines for the treatment and disposal of wastes are very important and necessary for maintaining public health and environmental problems. What do you do to ensure proper disposal of your wastes? Have a think. Quick word on recycling. Recycling is a process that requires a lot of management, maintenance and costs, okay? But what we're trying to do is trying to prevent a wasting of useful materials by reducing how much we have to sort of mine or dig up coal and all those things that we use. And also reducing how much water pollution and landfill that we cause, and hopefully to lower greenhouse gases, okay? And as I said, most of our household waste can be recycled, and of course, as I said, there's a limit. There is no limit to glass, but of course, most of it is recycled, this is pretty good. For every 1 ton of waste glass recycled, 1.1 tons of raw materials are saved. Steel is considered, and we didn't talk about this one, but besides steel, there's also gold and other types of metals that are also recycled. by collection, and sometimes you get money for taking some to the tip, like copper. Okay, so it is quite most recyclable product in the world, but we only recycle about 35%. The steel cans can be recycled, include pet food, coffee, oil, paint, aerosol, bottle tops, and jam jar lids. Okay, milk and juice cartons, aluminium cans, plastics, and paper can be all recycled. And of course, this is nearly half of your household waste. And as some of you have mentioned, we can get rid of our food scraps, grass and garden clippings as well. And if it does make it to landfill, it decomposes and creates greenhouse gases and takes up space. So let's end with this. Imagine the impact on the environment if every person recycled their household waste appropriately. Just have a think over the next week on what waste that you're producing. Why don't you take a tally of the waste you produce and think, how much of that can you recycle?